Dear Professor Stiglitz, thank you very much for being here. It's truly a great honor to meet you. I'm Marton Vida. I study here in the second year of my bachelor studies in philosophy, politics and economics. And my first question would be that this is not your first time here at CEU. And I'm really curious whether there's anything which makes this place special for you, which made you come back here from so far.
This is the first time I've been at CEU in Vienna, but I've been to CEU in Budapest a number of times. I think the principles, the motivations for the founding of CEU are something I very, very strongly support. It was founded at the moment of transition from communism to a market economy, with a commitment to make available to the newly freed, if we want, students in the new free in these transition countries, and a good education that would help prepare them for a modern society, modern economy, and particularly with a framework of what George Soros has always focused on, an open society, a democratic society with open debate and discussion, a strong emphasis on human rights. So I think there are few universities that in their founding principles reflect these kinds of ideas that are very close to my heart.
Thank you very much. And then I would also like to ask a bit about your suggestions for us young students, because you had a very long and successful career as an economist. So you won the Nobel Prize in 2001. You served at several academic and non-academic institutions, such as the World Bank, the US President's Economic Advisory Committee, and really the world's best universities such as MIT, Stanford, Yale, Columbia, and so on. So I'm really curious whether, so what would be your top recommendation to us students who are really facing an increasingly competitive labor market?
I begin by maybe reflecting on some things my parents told me, which when I asked the question, what should I do with my life, and and they said, one, money will never make you happy. That should not be the objective of your focus. A little strange maybe for an economist, but still that was what they said. The second thing is, you've been gifted with a very good mind, use it. And I would say more broadly, whatever the talents you have, and different people have different talents, use them to the full. Live up to your potential. And the third is, that they emphasized a lot, was be of service to others. Just advancing your own well-being will never make you happy. And we're social beings. And I think that those words of advice were very important. From an academic point of view, I think the additional word of advice I would say is, question. I think my success was partly based on the idea that I questioned what I was taught by my teachers. I wasn't sure it was right. And in many cases, it didn't seem to conform with what I saw with my own eyes. And that led me to ask questions like, what was wrong with the theories that they had developed that made their predictions so inconsonant with what I saw going around me. Asking the right questions is often the most important part in advancing our understanding of the world.
If anyone reads the newspapers these days, we read all these very pessimistic analyses about at least the short-term future of the global economy. So we are in the midst of a lot of crises. and people are increasingly on the opinion that global recession is now almost inevitable. And I'm really curious what is your take on it. So are you perhaps a bit more optimistic about it, or no?
Well, I don't think it's inevitable. I'm afraid that central banks will make some critical mistakes that they will tip us into an economic downturn by raising interest rates too far, too fast, learning the wrong lessons from history. The central bankers keep saying, we've learned from history that you have to be resolute in fighting inflation. But the inflation they were fighting in those days was very different from today's inflation. Raising interest rates is not going to create more energy, more oil, more gas, more food. And those are the sources, the supply constraints are the sources of today's inflation. And that's what attention needs to be focused on.
Now, I want to ask a bit about the indirect effects of such an economic crisis, because many people are feeling not only the direct effects but also indirect ones, by which, for example, I mean that there is this increasingly popular view that the reason why right-wing populist parties have been on the rise is that the traditional democratic liberal parties will not be able to give the proper economic answers to the issues masses of people are facing. And my question is whether you agree with this assessment and whether you see some way out of it.
I am very concerned about some of these indirect effects, obviously. When there's a high level of inequality, high levels of poverty, the society and the economy is not functioning well, there's going to be disillusion. People are going to look for alternatives. And it opens the door for demagogues, for populists who promise but never deliver on those promises. So I am very concerned, particularly in the current context where you look around the world and unfortunately a majority of people today are living under authoritarian regimes.
Thank you very much. That was our short interview. So
thank you.
It was really a great honor for me, and we are looking forward to your lecture.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.